up? It's Kathy, and I'm back with day 4 of my 12 days of Scrappy Christmas. And today's layout is "'Twas the night before Grinchmas." And my picture and my layout is about my son, who at the time that I took this picture, it was Christmas Eve, and this was the story that he wanted to read before bed. And it was How the Grinch Stole Christmas, because he loved, at the time, and it's still, he loves the Grinch for some reason. I used to have to read this book all the time to him, no matter what time of year it was. And he loves the 1966 cartoon with Boris Karloff, and I could not remember who did the narration of it, and I was like, okay, it's one of the horror icons from the silver screen era, and I kept thinking Bela Lugosi, except Bela Lugosi was Dracula, and Boris Karloff was Frankenstein. Anyway, he's got such a wonderful voice, and he was perfect for that narration. Anyway, he loves that. He likes the live action one too, because, well, he's a kid, so you know, kids like that kind of stuff. But yeah, he's a much bigger fan of the book than the movies. Anyway, so that was his choice for book before bedtime on Christmas Eve. And this was a few years ago. This would have been 2012, when my daughter was like about 6 months old. So that's why she's not in the picture or anything. She was probably already in bed. So my whole idea with this layout was to kind of, I went through a whole bunch of papers, and originally I was going to use some of the Fa La La collection and different things like that. And I even brought out a really old holidays paper pad from K & Company that I bought a extremely long time ago. So right when I first started scrapbooking, so back in like 2009. So, I mean, that's not very old for some people, but considering I have had that paper pad since 2009 and never used a single paper, to me that's a while, and I still don't use a paper. But I'm gonna keep it because I don't hate it or anything. I just have never found a paper that I really wanted to use at the time. I should honestly just come up with a layout based on one of the papers, and that way it would fit in better. So I had a very simple design concept with this layout. I had just the one picture because I only took 3 pictures of the whole reading a book thing, and this was the best one. And I actually took this picture at night, so this was before he went to bed. And I did alter it in Photoshop and brightened it up quite a bit, so it actually looks like daytime, which might be unusual, but it really helped brighten up the colors and really make it stand out. So that 6x6 paper pad that I have going, that I took a few papers out of, it's from, I just dropped a battery, sorry guys. It's from American Crafts, and it was from 2015, and the only thing I have of that collection, which was called Merry and Bright, and it was adorable, is the 6x6 paper pad. And I hoard it, wholeheartedly hoard it, because I love, it's so bright and funky, and the colors, and there's so many pops of black and bright green and pink, and it's just fantastic. It was a fantastic color scheme, and it went perfectly with what I was doing, because I had, of course, the red PJs, and there was green and stuff in it, and there's dark green and light green in this collection. So it worked out perfectly, and I cannot help but think of that kind of green, that kind of, they call it like an olive green, but it really isn't. It's more like a chartreuse when I think of the Grinch, because he kind of is that color green. So I definitely wanted to draw in that. I had the deer paper left over, and that was from my last layout, which was actually for Audrey Yeager's blog, YouTube hop. And it just happened to still be on my table because I haven't cleaned anything. And it's from 7 Paper from Studio Calico, and I thought it would just be a really nice addition. It brought in some beige, and I still had the photorealistic paper that I used from that collection as well. And the other side of it was that grid with the red. And I thought that was kind of a nice pop. Like, I have some cream papers from Silent Night, which is an old October Afternoon collection. So I had to balance it with a little bit more stark white. And I'm just using white basic cardstock. I had debated what I was going to use, and in the end I went with this. Later on, after it was all done, I found this other paper that was like a crisscross, but it was in a light green, and it actually would have worked really well, but it doesn't matter. I went with this because I was going to do splatters, and a lot of these get covered up. I don't really care. I was just looking to put some splatters on the paper. I'll put more on as it goes, but I wanted some kind of underneath as opposed to just doing it at the end. So I did it with the cherry from Heidi Swapp and her citron one. And then I mopped it up. I sopped it up with paper towel because I was impatient, and I wish I hadn't done that. I should have. I was trying to get this layout done quickly because I had limited time. I kind of wish I had left it because the red would have been more vibrant, but that's okay. I will work with what I have. I'm putting baker's twine behind my photo just for some squiggliness. You know, the papers aren't perfectly cut. They're not perfectly straight or anything like that, but there's so much kind of structure with all that layering that I felt I needed something to kind of enhance the silliness that is often found in Dr. Seuss's drawings and stuff like that. So I added in the baker's twine in red, and now I'm going through like two packages of, or like two of my little containers of Christmas ephemera. So I'm pulling out, there's this one collection that I cannot remember. I bought it from Scraptastic a long time ago, so I really don't know how old it is, or remember the company it was from. Might have been Fancy Pants or something like that. And it's part of the one that says Be Merry there. So there's some trees from that. The holly is from that. Some of this is from a Heidi Swapp mini album, and that might be and the Happy Ho 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 to You is from the Fa La La ephemera pack, and the rest is kind of just, I think the label might be from Old Pink Fresh Studio. I don't know what the Jolly's from. I feel that's also from Heidi Swapp because that looks like her handwriting. And that Big Giant 24 is from that Heidi Swapp mini album package that I bought. And it's all just mixed together. I just keep all my Christmas ephemera in a few different containers. And what I'm debating right now is, do I want to do a tiny cluster up top, a large cluster down below? Where am I going to put my title? Why did the music start? I have my headphones plugged into my phone because I was listening to music, and I must have accidentally started the music. I didn't even realize it. So as you can tell, something quite unusual for me is I have not glued down anything yet. Like, I've glued down the main paper cluster, but I have not glued down any of the embellishments. For the most part, they are going to stay with where they are right now. I'm not really going to move them. I think I'm going to move some of it a bit further over to the left. So I grabbed some Jelly Bean Soup alphas in this green, and the reason I picked that green was I really wanted to bring in the color that's on the cuffs of his PJs. And the whole thought process behind this layout was to use those green Jelly Bean Soup alphas. So you can imagine how silly it was when I don't use those green Jelly Bean Soup alphas. I do not end up using them. And you will see why here shortly, but I decided to write Grinchmas. I just thought it was cute. I know it's, you know, it's typical. It's not new or anything, but it worked well for this layout. And of course it's huge. So now I'm trying to fit something in so the title's not just floating somewhere. So it kind of fits in around my layout. I'm a very big kind of believer in doing that. So I found these light green. These were from a Hip Kit Club kit a while ago, and they were exclusive ones. I think it was like not last summer, but the summer before. Anyway, so they're the perfect green to match what I'm doing, and there's a ton of them, so I was able to easily write what I wanted to without worrying about running out of E's or F's. Why would I ever run out of F's? E's or O's or A's or any of the ones that would be T that would be worrisome. I did kind of, you know, try to get them somewhat straight, but they didn't have to be perfectly straight because this is a fun layout. I don't want them to be perfectly straight. So I wrote "twas." I didn't put any apostrophes in where they were kind of necessary, but I don't really care. And so after I lay this all out, I realized, you know, that green's nice, but with there being so much red on the page, but it's kind of going across horizontally, that I feel like it needs some red in other places over the green, because there's really not a whole lot of that green outside of his picture. So I have the same jelly bean alphas in red. So I grabbed those, spelt out the same thing, and took a look and went, yep, I really like it in the red. I think it looks perfect. It actually kind of reminds me of the font that they used for the beginning of the movie, like the 2000 movie. I don't know, just kind of, it just reminded me of that, just looking at it. So I, you know, stuck it down haphazardly the way that I kind of just tossed it on there because I liked how that looked. It was perfectly in theme with what was going on. And yeah, I'm just using that glue that I don't remember the name of at the moment. I really don't remember the name of it. I think it's like right in front of me too, and I cannot remember the name of it. Everyone knows it. Glossy Accents. That's it. I put some twine in because I already had the baker's twine going on, and because I have a wood grain tree on the right hand side, so I wanted to bring a little bit of like a brown in. There's brown in the deer and stuff like that too. So I'm just kind of shoving them in. I pop up the little tree with foam, and then I pop up some of the stuff on the other side with foam as well. And it's just that thin kids foam, and it's one that's sticky on one side. It's great. I love the sticky on one side stuff. I'm not going back to the other stuff. I'm gonna have to use the sticky, the ones that have I'm yawning. Pre-stuck stuff. I don't know how I pulled an all-dayer today. I did. No naps, no nothing. Whoo. It is, yeah. I am a nap person. It's weird to not have a nap. But yeah, I really like how this all kind of came together. I started out with absolutely no idea, and just kind of sprung forth with an idea. I mean, it's just kind of a typical thing. It's like, here's some paper and it's out there, and you know, it's nothing extraordinary or new, but I love the whimsicalness of it. And I decided I needed to put something on the top and the bottom, just because you guys know I really like to ground my photos, and I find sometimes I need something dark on the top or bottom, or something with a pattern. So I ended up using more of the deer paper, and I was going to use it with the red, but I don't. I used that side, and it's not long enough, but I actually kind of like that. It's just a little bit more whimsy and imperfect, and that's something that really helps this layout kind of get its footing, is how imperfect and haphazard and fun it looks. So besides adding a little bit more Heidi Swapp Color Shine in red, which I apparently smush before I take the pictures without even knowing it, boo. That's the only other thing I'm going to do on this layout. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope you guys are inspired to use some red and green and scrapbook some Grinchiness. Have an awesome day. Pictures are coming up, and I'll see you in the next video.